Hey everyone, before we get into today's story, make sure you subscribe if you enjoy real-life experiences like this. Trust me, you won't regret it. I never imagined that something as ordinary as a short vacation could completely change how I saw my relationship. My name is Daniel, and for most of my life, I believed trust was something you gave freely. I believed loyalty was natural, and that the people closest to you would protect that bond, not break it. I've since learned that this belief, when given without limits, can leave you exposed. It began when my girlfriend of 3 years, Emily, casually mentioned she wanted to take a weekend trip with a group of friends. At first, it didn't alarm me. Trips like that are normal, she said. Just a chance to unwind and escape routine for a bit. But the moment she listed who would be going, my chest tightened. One of those friends was her ex, Mark. I ignored the uneasy feeling rising inside me and told myself I was being irrational. After all, people can stay on friendly terms after a breakup. Or at least that's what I wanted to believe. I wanted to trust her more than I wanted to question her. A few days before she was set to leave, I asked for simple information: where they'd be staying, flight details, basic things you share with someone who cares about your safety. Her reaction was instant and sharp. She looked at me with a coldness that caught me off guard. "You don't need to know that," she said firmly. There was no softness in her voice, no reassurance, just distance. I didn't argue. I didn't push back. Experience has taught me that when someone becomes defensive without reason, pressing further only makes things worse. Still, the discomfort lingered. Something between us had shifted. The warmth we once shared had slowly faded over the past few months. The laughter, the easy affection, the small gestures that made us feel close had been replaced with emotional space. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that stress or routine was to blame. But deep down, my instincts were screaming that this wasn't just a harmless trip. When you've witnessed betrayal before, you start noticing details others overlook. Pauses that last a second too long. Smiles that feel forced. Stories that don't quite align. So I chose to step back. I didn't call constantly or flood her phone with messages. I stayed quiet, calm on the surface. But I needed clarity. That's when I did something I never thought I would. I sent a simple message to Mark's wife. Nothing aggressive, just a brief question. I didn't know what I expected in return, but what I received stopped me cold. Her reply arrived that evening. It wasn't angry or emotional. It was short, composed, and unsettling. "I'm aware of everything. Be careful how you proceed." That was it. No context, no explanation. Just a warning. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The secrecy. The emotional distance, the inconsistencies I'd brushed aside. None of it was accidental. The trip wasn't just a getaway. It was a carefully staged lie. I forced myself to stay grounded. Reacting emotionally would only weaken my position. I'd always been the calm one in our relationship, the listener, the stabilizer. That patience had carried us through countless disagreements. But now, trust felt fragile, like something that could collapse with one wrong move. I buried myself in work, using it as a distraction. I didn't reach out to her. Every notification on my phone made my heart race. I hated the uncertainty, but I knew that losing control would give her exactly what she expected. When Emily came back, she wore the same familiar smile, the one that once made everything feel okay. But her eyes told a different story. There was hesitation there, caution. She seemed ready for confrontation, waiting for me to ask questions or accuse her. I did neither. I said nothing. I watched. I paid attention to how she spoke, how she moved, how carefully she chose her words. And with every passing moment, I realized something important. The balance between us had changed. What she believed was her secret, her leverage, was no longer hidden. I wasn't in the dark anymore. That evening, we sat together, and she tried to make small talk, asking about work and everyday things. I responded politely, calmly, without emotion. Inside, my thoughts were racing, replaying everything I now understood. Her usual charm didn't work. The teasing, the affection, the confidence she carried back with her began to crack. I could see it in her expression. Confusion, unease, fear. She realized something was wrong, that the situation wasn't unfolding the way she had planned. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her of anything. I let the silence fill the room, heavy and unavoidable. Sometimes silence exposes more than words ever could. Slowly, her composure faded. When she finally tried to explain herself, I listened without interrupting. I didn't need to argue. The truth had already surfaced. By the next morning, she understood that the version of reality she'd tried to create no longer existed. There was no hiding, no controlling the narrative anymore. We still had decisions ahead of us, difficult conversations and emotions to face. But something fundamental had changed. The advantage she thought she held was gone. She saw me differently then, not as someone to deceive, but as someone who saw clearly. Even now, I think about that trip, that message, and the hours of quiet observation. It taught me that strength isn't found in anger or confrontation. It's found in awareness, patience, and knowing your worth. From that moment on, I promised myself that my boundaries would never be ignored again.